Hello, everyone, and welcome. Today is Thursday, January 16th, and we're happy to welcome you to our second session of our Schoolyard Forest Community of Practice. We have some exciting speakers for you today. So my name is Mikaela Randolph. I am the Associate Director of Regional Programs here at Green Schoolyards America. I'm being supported by my amazing colleagues, Lauren McKenna, who's a Senior Program Manager, and Allison Torres, our Operations Manager here at Green Schoolyards America. You might also see in the chat or participant list some other Green Schoolyards America staff, and we're so happy and pleased to have you here and joining this session. So I've already welcomed you and done some introductions. Just for our agenda, we'll have a presentation by our guest speakers. We have 3 of them today. You can also, if time allows, we'll have discussion and question and answers with speakers and our attendees, and then we'll close and share with you our next session coming up. I would be remiss if I didn't just take a moment to acknowledge the devastation that's happening in Southern California. Organizationally, our hearts are with all of those that have been affected by the devastating fires. I and my colleague Lauren McKenna are lifelong Angelinos and still reside in the city and county of LA. So our hearts are feeling very heavy for many of our colleagues, our school greening partners, friends, and school districts that we work directly with who've been directly affected via loss of property and businesses, disruption in power, and evacuations throughout this process. And so we know that the road to recovery will be a long one, as it is for any disaster, be that hurricane, storm, tornado, etc. But we know collectively through our resolve, we will get through this and rebuild. So just a reminder that this community of practice is part of the National Schoolyard Forest System, a large-scale initiative to increase tree canopy on public school grounds to protect pre-K through 12 students from extreme heat and rising temperatures due to climate change. California is the first state in the National Schoolyard Forest System. Nevada and New Mexico are newer states that have recently joined the Schoolyard Forest System. And so we're excited to continue to provide promising practices and lift up exemplary models of schoolyard forest in this space as a community of practice. And we really hope that this is a collegial space in which you're able to learn from each other and gain inspiration. So today we are featuring Project CANOPY in San Antonio, Texas. We have 3 amazing speakers who are both energetic and so knowledgeable about the work that they present. So Jaci Randel brings over 20 years of expertise in business management and operations to her role as Executive Director of Bexar Branches Alliance. She is responsible for developing and implementing the organization's strategic vision, as well as fostering meaningful partnerships with community groups and government agencies. Then you'll hear from Isaac Esquivel, who is an elementary environmental science teacher for Northside Independent School District in San Antonio, Texas. He inspires students to appreciate and care for the environment through dynamic, hands-on outdoor learning experiences, working with 83 elementary schools. He engages over 7,500 fifth grade students in impactful restoration and citizen science projects. His team, in partnership with community organizations, has created Project CANOPY, an acronym that's cultivating and nurturing our planet's youth, a transformative schoolyard forest project aiming to enrich all NISD campuses with native trees. He holds a Bachelor of Science in Biology and a Master's of Education in Elementary Education. And then lastly, you'll hear from Matt Elgin, who's the Field Operations for American Youthworks. Matt started his conservation career in 2019 with AmeriCorps team in Vermont. And since then, he has always been in the environmental field. And with American Youthworks, he is focused on providing the benefits he received as an AmeriCorps member to the next generation of land stewards. And I will share just someone who's a little bit more behind the scenes, not a featured speaker, is Becky Schwartz, who's a critical member of this team. And she's with American Forest, so you might see her engage in the chat in different ways too. So with that, let's see. Yes, just a reminder that this community of practice is open to the public and it's free, and we'll continue to have this. And I will pass it on and invite Jaci, I believe, to share her screen and start her presentation.
Hello, everyone. So Isaac, I'm going to hand this off to you first.
Okay, sounds good. Just want to first start off by saying thank you, Green Schoolyards America, for this opportunity to present today. We're big fans of all the work that surrounds Green Schoolyards America. We love surrounding ourselves around like-minded people, and we are thrilled to share our exciting initiative about Project CANOPY, which focuses on planting schoolyard forests across our district. So on this next slide, you're going to see a little bit about Northside Independent School District. So Jack, if you can change the slide for me, thank you so much. And just to give you an idea of our school district, we are a large public school district in San Antonio, Texas, and we span over 350 square miles of urban, suburban, and rural areas. As the fourth largest district in the state, we serve over 100,000 students across 125 schools with more than 7,000 teachers. And I bring this up because our goal with Project CANOPY is to bring these schoolyard forests to every campus, starting with our elementary school specifically. So this initiative has the potential to greatly impact our students, our campus environments, and our community. Next slide. So you might be wondering, how did Project CANOPY get launched? And so it was launched by the Elementary Science Curriculum and Instruction Department for Northside, where I have the privilege of leading the fifth grade environmental science program. Building on the foundation laid by my predecessor, Kent Page, our team continues to enhance this program by engaging our students in outdoor learning and fostering an appreciation for the environment. We've expanded our ecological restoration projects by planting native trees, flowers, and grasses at all our elementary campuses. And we also try to teach the value of citizen science through Globe and iNaturalist. Additionally, we provide field trips opportunities focused on environmental science across San Antonio, and I get to support the amazing Amalia Solers, who leads Project Acorn, which is our district's garden club initiative with over 40 campuses participating. So if we go into the next slide, you might be wondering, well, where does all this magic happen in San Antonio? So I get to travel across Northside San Antonio to all 83 campuses, and just to kind of give you an idea of what San Antonio looks like, we have an image here on your left-hand side, and we take the majority of that northern left hemisphere of San Antonio, so it's quite big. I know the image is small, but every one of those dots is one of our campuses, and so you can imagine each campus, whether it's urban, suburban, or rural, has a unique environment and student population. So some older campuses like this image that you see on the left here, we have established trees and plant life, while others, like those on the right, may just have that one tree. And so this is why we're extremely excited to implement Schoolyard Forests and to teach our students the importance of environmental restoration and conservation. Next slide, please. So how did the idea of Project CANOPY begin? So my predecessor envisioned creating learning demonstration sites at every elementary school. Essentially, they're tiny forests or thickets of native plants serving as dense, self-sustaining biodiversity hotspots. We've continued this vision by having each class adopt a plant to take care for and learn from throughout the entire school year, expanding these spaces annually. And so if you're looking at the images here on these demonstration sites, I have an example of year one. Year one is, it's starting off by just making a basic garden bed with the bricks. We usually start with a large overstored tree in the middle of these beds. And then we add some accompanied understory native plants below that tree. And so year two, you can kind of see how the growth is slow, as we're all familiar with how long restoration takes. But at year 4.5 is where we really kind of start to see it come together. So on that far picture on the right shows year 4.5, and it shows our tree has grown quite a bit. It's kind of hard to see in the image, but we do have some understory shrubs and trees in that particular bed, along with some native flowers. On the bottom left-hand corner shows you a image of the 4.5-year-old bed adjacent to a 1-year-old bed. And again, the idea is to link those together to continue to increase the size of these thickets or tiny forests. And we've also kind of experimented with pocket prairies in these demonstration sites. So we're not necessarily planting transplants, but maybe native wildflower seeds. And we've seen some success in that as well. So a fellow master naturalist connected me with Jaci Randolph from Bexar Branches Alliance. And after seeing our goals, Jaci had this brilliant idea, right, that ultimately inspired Project CANOPY. And I'm going to let Jaci tell you about that.
All right, everyone. Sorry, this is not. There we go. Okay. So hello, everyone. Thank you again for this opportunity to be here. My name is Jaci Randel. I am the Executive Director of Bexar Branches Alliance. Bexar Branches Alliance, we established in July of 2021 with a mission to help build a robust community forest that contributes to an equitable and ecologically resilient future for the South Central Texas communities that we serve. So we had 3 programming initiatives: native tree planting projects throughout the region, providing tree maintenance for existing canopy, and then ensuring that we create educational opportunities to reconnect our community to our urban forests and all of the benefits of trees. So when we established, we thought it was really important for us to understand the reality of our climate. So we are very data driven. I want to share some of the resources that we use to tell the story as to why it's important that we plant trees. So in August of 2022, the Morton Arboretum came out with a study that shows 1 out of 9 of our native tree species are at risk of extinction. And us in Texas, we're one of the top 5 states whose native tree population is at risk, specifically our oaks and hawthorns. So that's the national and the state level. Then we kind of take it down to the county level. This information comes from Global Forest Watch. This shows, and you can look at any county in the United States, but here in Bexar County, we've lost 20% of our tree canopy since 2001. And across the state of Texas, we've lost 25% of our tree canopy. We also have an urban forestry inventory analysis, and what this application, the data that's shared here, is an overview of the inventory we have as far as tree species, what their capacity is as far as mitigation of pollution, stormwater. But we really use this application to share data in regards to heat island, social vulnerability, which is an area's ability to recover after a natural disaster or man-made disaster, and then equity. And the equity information we get is from the Office of Sustainability. So the most vulnerable areas in the county is really where we wanted to focus our initial efforts. We also use American Forests. This is a great tool. This is their tree equity score. This gives us an idea of what census blocks in the county and the city are not meeting tree equity the minimum score of 75, which essentially is what the tree canopy is currently at versus what the target is for that census block. So in Bexar County, we would have to plant over 240,000 trees if we lost 0 trees from now until we get all of those planted. And in the city of San Antonio, it's about 220,000 of those trees. We also use air quality data. In talking to Isaac when we first got connected, taking students outside in the Texas heat, not only is it hot, but the air quality here is increasingly getting worse. So we use air quality data to share how trees can help clean our air. And then once Isaac and I got connected, we really discussed how we can utilize this data to identify campuses within Northside ISD that really needed trees. And through the data, we identified an initial 10 campuses was our original goal to plant trees on. And the process really was, we shared the data with Northside's independent school districts with their maintenance department to see if these campuses were even contenders if they had master plans. We whittled down the initial year to 5 campuses where these trees would not interfere with any capital projects or bond projects at the schools. So this is data is how we use to share the story of the 5 campuses that we first identified, and also helped us tell the funders why it was important to plant trees at these specific schools. So this is an example of the heat island data that we use. We also have this for social vulnerability and equity. And then also sharing some of the challenges of going out in the Texas heat to do any kind of outdoor learning, not being able to touch playground equipment or find any shade to conduct any kind of educational learning opportunity outside. And then once we shared the data, the reality of the climate that we're in, then we talked about the benefits of the trees and how that can mitigate the challenges we're facing, from cleaning our air to the mental and physical health of the students on campus. And then really sharing why trees are a good investment of public dollars, right? Trees year after year, they grow, their return on investment grows as they grow, and their capacity of their environmental services grow as well. And then just sharing, this is iTree data. This is the projected environmental benefits of Project CANOPY. So Texas, we have some electric grid opportunities here. So we can highlight the electricity saved on these campuses from shading of the tree. Same thing with carbon dioxide and ozone sequestered. So it just really helps tell the story and data as what the benefits of these trees can show. And then, of course, once we had this story, we got all the approval through Northside. Isaac and I came up with a plan for the campus. Then we went out for funding. And why I share this funding is because we got funding from American Forests for 2 of these campuses. And American Forests is how we got connected with Matt and his team at American Youthworks. So the opportunity for funding from American Forests and Microsoft for Driggers really helped create a holistic approach for this project. And how the collaboration worked with American Youthworks, and I'm going to hand this off to Matt in just a minute, was Bexar Branches Alliance. We are a staff of 1, which is me. We now have 2 because as part of Project CANOPY, these trees will be watered for the next 4 years. We were able to hire somebody from actually Matt's crew to water these trees. So now we're a staff of 2. But going into this project, Matt's team, this was an opportunity for us to get planting support for the students, but also to collaborate to get them leadership support and training within his crew. So we met, I taught them how to plant a tree, and then taught them how to teach students to plant the trees. And then Matt, I'm going to hand this over to you so you can share, take the story from here.
Awesome, thank you. So I'm Matt Elgin. I'm here representing American Youthworks and the Texas Conservation Corps, and I had the privilege of being in charge of the San Antonio crew. I had 2 separate crews, and both got to participate in some tree plantings, and a lot of the people from the first crew came back for the second one. I kind of got involved in this because I came on in 2022. Yeah, 2022, and sort of took my position from my colleague Megan Smith, who lives in San Antonio and has now moved to being our individual placement coordinator. But through her, I interacted with Jaci, and we met Isaac, and was told we have 5 tree plantings and we have to figure it out. So I'd like to take this time to really highlight the members and the participation, and how these 5 tree plantings were really impactful for not just us as an organization, but the members and their terms of service as well. So next slide, please. Okay, so this is our first crew. This was the San Antonio crew. They were a crew that was funded pretty much explicitly by the Great Americans Outdoors Act that was signed in 2019, and they were a crew that was expected to work solely at the San Antonio National Historical Missions. There were 10 of us to start, and yeah, every single one of these people were great, and all of them finished their term, and about 7 of them came back for a second one. You can see us here. This was at the end of our first week of orientation. We decided to take a group photo in front of it, in front of the Mission San Jose, and that was that. Next slide, please. And so, yeah, to talk about how this stuff works. So each crew was a 6-month term, and in that time, we were able to do 5 tree plantings between 2 separate crews. This picture on the left is the second crew, in which you can see a lot of the same faces before, but with a couple new ones, and who are down there in the waders and in the muck. These terms of service were expected to be 6 months, and when in that time, they served 900 hours of time as AmeriCorps members, for which they received an education award, and as well as they got their Public Land Corps certification to help in as a hiring authority on USA jobs. You can see right here, like at the start of it, down at the bottom in the waders, their job was very much to clean out the acequias. The acequias at the missions are basically aqueducts, but in the ground. And they are what has historically been used by the missions and San Antonio to irrigate the crops and to help them grow and so on and so forth. And they get the chance to participate in that as well. So I'm ready for the next slide, please. So yeah, like I said, this was their job and this is what they did on a regular basis. Like all of these acequias are in the ground, and one of the important things is to make sure that they continue to run freely. To a lot of the things that they talk about at the park is that the acequias are like the lifeblood of San Antonio, just like the river and the Blue Hole. The history of San Antonio is very much entwined with these like structures, and so even now today there are still the San Antonio Food Bank has fields that are still irrigated by the acequias, and our crew was responsible for keeping them clean, whether going in waders and removing vegetation by hand, clearing the sides of it, making sure that it stayed clear, or taking out large things that were starting to erode the bank of it itself. Next slide, please. And so, like that all being said, the tree plantings were a great reprieve for us. Not only was it an opportunity for the members to do something that they normally wouldn't do, which, you know, like one of the things we always say is that when we're doing orientations, I made sure that they understood that the work can get monotonous, but it's worth it. You know, I often said that theirs are some of the new hands that are tending to the lifeblood of San Antonio, and it was really great to continue that through a different sort of project. Our participation in these tree plantings were not only just a reprieve from normal work, which is always helpful, but also created a bunch of different partnerships and different relationships with people that I wouldn't have met, and also the members wouldn't have met as well. Like this tree planting that we did, we ended up meeting Mark Cruzy from the American Forest, or from the A&M Forest Service, and he came out to the missions to teach our crew how to do rigging and go up and down, and you can see that here in the picture on the right. Like it's one of those things that like having these chance to volunteer and participate, which we always encourage, is really beneficial for them as well, in not only creating opportunities for the members to network and get potential employment later, but also just to experience the things and build a wider community and start an interconnecting so that we can support each other on a higher level of community as well. Next slide, please. And yeah, like they were great. These tree plantings were awesome, and it was a wonderful time. I truly think that all of our members benefited from it. One in particularly, Desiree Mendoza, was on both crews and ended up getting hired on at their branches as the second person. And we just can't thank everybody enough for this participation and allowing us to access to it, and it's been wonderful. So thank you to Isaac and Jackie especially, and then also to Becky as well. And thank you to everyone here for your time and letting us talk about it today.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt. So this is where the fun really started to kick in because we launched Project Canopy. And so when we did this, we wanted to take a holistic approach to creating the schoolyard forest by involving the students in this learning process as much as possible. While the students didn't choose the tree species or locations, they played a significant role in the implementation. So in 2022, we celebrated Texas Arbor Day with a Zoom event involving the first 5 participating campuses to try to generate some excitement about planting trees on their campus. And before this celebration, we provided lessons for the students so they could learn about the benefits of the trees and how they improve the air quality, regulate the climate, control erosion, increase biodiversity. These are all the things that they had learned about. And they also studied the species of trees that we're going to be planting, and then they were able to do some research and then share some facts and insights about some of the trees that they were planting. So each campus was then selected a student representative to express their excitement about the project. We wanted professionals in the tree industry to share their work and highlight the importance of planting trees. So Jaci made contact with Gretchen Riley from Texas Forest Service, and along with Michael Helinski, who at the time was the city of San Antonio city's forester. And both of them spoke about their jobs and how it relates to trees and the importance of what we were doing with Project Canopy. And then here on the bottom right, you can see an image of some students, just kind of give an idea of what this celebration was like. So every campus kind of did it in their own way. This particular campus zoomed from the library, some zoomed from the cafeteria, or maybe even their classrooms. But we did have a guest speaker order here, and you can see all the participating campuses along with our guest speakers. And it really did generate a lot of fun and excitement. Jack, if you go to the next slide. One of the things that was really that we pitched in this this first Arbor Day celebration was a student canopy art logo contest. And so so when we launched this canopy logo contest, we did it for all the 4th and 5th graders that were participating at these campuses. And so students applied what they learned about the schoolyard forest and tree planting, incorporating the canopy acronym, right? The cultivating and nurturing our planet's youth, and created some really awesome artworks. Believe it or not, we had over 100,000 submissions. And we did have a 1st, 2nd, and 3rd place. So right here, you do see 2nd place on the left-hand side. And then on the right-hand side, we had our 3rd place placement for the contest. If you go to the next slide, Jaci, I'll show them that this was, how we arrived to this being the winning 1st place was that we had several members of our department, including the Bexar Branches, were provided the rubric we gave the students. And after judging, like I said, more than 100 submissions, this was the winning logo for the implementation of Canopy. So we are so proud, super proud of Talisa from Mead Elementary and the beautiful logo she created for this project. It was really a big hit. Next slide. So this is where it got super fun, right? Was the actually planting the trees. And so then comes the days we planted these trees. And so Northside Independent School District Maintenance Department dug each of these holes with an auger for the trees, and they supplied mulch to the planting areas. They also purchased a class set of tools, including shovels, rakes, and wheelbarrows. Bexar Branches was able to secure funding to buy each student their own gloves and a shirt with the Canopy logo. Which they just absolutely loved. I get these memories that just brings a smile to my face because they really enjoyed that portion. But then they also purchased some signage for each tree that included the species of the tree and facts about that tree. As we mentioned, it was I don't know if I mentioned this, but actually many of these campuses that we were planting at serve bilingual communities, and we felt that it was important to have those in English and Spanish. And so here on the left-hand side, you can kind of see what that signage looks like. And again, on the reverse side, it was in Spanish. And I have personally witnessed the value of these signs by seeing members of the community at those campuses reading about the trees and kind of taking a stroll along these freshly planted trees. So they were a very important piece. But the highlight of the project really was seeing Matt's team from American Youthworks, again, trained by Bexar Branches on proper tree planting and guiding the students in planting over 500 plus trees. And again, these are 15-gallon sized trees across 5 campuses. The students absolutely love planning with American Youthworks. In fact, when I go back to the campus, a lot of them would ask, how is the American Youthworks members doing? They really enjoyed working with them, and just to witness them working together was quite amazing. On this slide, you see we have some images of the planting day. Obviously, you can see here at the bottom, it takes a team to install these schoolyard forests. But just watching the excitement from the students' faces is priceless, right? I mean, it was evident that they truly enjoyed the learning experience. Every time I run into a student at one of these campuses, they recite how much fun they had, and they always give me an update on their trees. And just down here in this picture below, again, you can see this one was particular at Driggers Elementary. Jaci was even able to get the mayor of Leon Valley to join us that day on the plantings. And then just kind of looking at the images above, you can kind of see, what these implementations of these schoolyard forests kind of look like and what they took. And again, the kids, just watching them enjoy this experience made it all worthwhile. We'll go to the next slide, Jaci. So, now that we have our trees in, where do we go from here? So during my campus visits, one of the things that we do is we do collect atmospheric data, including air temperature, and we use this V-log machine that you see in the bottom here in the middle. It's called a V-log machine, and what it does is it measures air temperature and a lot of other things, including like relative humidity and air pressure and et cetera. But what we do is we have them put the temperature probe on that V-logger. And on the bottom left here, you can see that the students are measuring the temperature of our blacktop at the campus, which is made of concrete and asphalt. And so they collect the data here, and then we have them do various locations, including the shade of a tree. So on the top photo here on the left, you can see that we have students measuring air temperature in the shade of the tree. And then we have them, and we talk about why are trees important, how does it affect our air temperature, and so forth. And Green Schoolyards America has this created a similar lesson that's amazing. It's titled "How Cool Is Your Schoolyard?" And while we haven't yet involved students in planning where the tree locations are going to be and the species from the species that we select, based from their analysis of their data, we're definitely heading in that direction. We really want to have this something that they do prior to the plantings, and let them kind of explore maybe good options of tree species selection and location of these trees. So although we didn't do that this first round, our lessons do emphasize the importance of trees and how they combat climate change, urban heat islands, and improve our health and well-being. Next slide, please. So one of our favorites is Globe. It's one of my favorite citizen science programs that we use in our environmental program. Students love that it's an international program in which they collect data to track changes in the environment to support Earth system science research. And then it helps interpret NASA and other satellite data as well. And so they're going to provide you some links for these some of these websites that we're talking about. But if you're not familiar with Globe, I highly recommend it to anybody that is teaching students about science research. Here on the left-hand side is kind of what the app looks like. It's not just measuring trees. They have, like when the eclipse was occurring, they had you can make eclipse observations. I have done a lot of cloud observations with my students in the past, which they absolutely love. They do have a mosquito habitat mapper. And then one thing that I really want to try to use, because we use it in various ways, is that I really want to try to take, like we only collect tree data right now, but we look forward to maybe using this land cover data to better understand the land cover on our campuses and how these trees impact that change. And so, but for CANOPY, we definitely are using the tree globe observer. So if you go to the next slide, Jaci, I'll go ahead and show you kind of how this works. You obviously have to download the app. And again, it's called Globe Observer. So using Globe Observer, students can measure the tree height. And it's very much like a handheld kilometer, where you measure the angle from the bottom and then to the top of the tree. And then measuring the tree circumference is optional, right? But students, the observations they submit can support the interpretation of NASA's tree height data from the Ice Cloud and Land Elevation Satellite 2, also known as ICESat-2. And here you can see ICESat-2 on the left-hand side. where basically that ISAT-2 satellite, it carries a photon counting laser altimeter that allows scientists to measure the elevation of ice sheets, glaciers, sea ice, and in this case, canopy height. And so that's how we're using this with some of the trees with the trees that we have planted. So ISAT-2 helps scientists investigate why and how much our Earth is changing in our warming climate. It helps them observe tree height and allows NASA scientists to understand the gain or loss of biomass, which can inform calculations of the carbon that trees and forests either take in from or release into the atmosphere. And then if you do take the time to have your students measure the tree circumference, they can use those measurements to estimate the volume and the biomass and carbon storage of trees. And again, the kids just love using this because of the international science that's involved, along with the big names like NASA and NOAA who use this data. Next slide, please. So here's one of our students actually taking measuring some tree heights using the Globe tree app. So there's some required steps that you have to take. So one of those include the students must know their height because they have to enter their height into the program. And then what they need to do next is, and you can see this picture on the left-hand side, is they hold the iPad eye level. And they're not moving their arms up and down to take pictures of the top and the base of the tree. They're changing the angle, basically in their wrist. They're changing, changing the angle to get the top photo of the tree, and then they do the same thing by pointing the iPad down, angling it down to get the base of the tree. And then in that center picture, you can see that students walk to the tree while counting their steps. And really what that's doing is determining the distance from where the angles were measured from. And then another option another thing that the app will have you do is it'll have you report surface conditions of that current time that you're taking this observation. And then this app will use that information to calculate an estimate of the tree's height. It's pretty fascinating because we have been doing this now for a few years before CANOPY even existed. And so we're really happy to do this CANOPY campuses. But if you go to the next slide, Jaci, what's really cool is that when you go into Globe has a visualization system that can be accessed through your profile once it's set up. And so you can use Globe's various filters to find both your specific measurements and historical data from other people that have taken measurements dating back all the way to 1995. And so when I go into this system, I can view all the tree height observations made by our students, along with other observations made in our city. And Globe is amazing at organizing all this data collected by storing your measured date, latitude, and longitude, and tree height. And so, and you can see that here on the image here. So when I pull it up on the computer, you can see it has the date, the latitude, longitude, and the tree height there at the bottom. And then on the right-hand side, you can see here's that image of a map of San Antonio again. And these are all the tree observations being taken in San Antonio. And we're very proud that most of these Globe tree observations are coming from Northside Independent School District. You can see it's the exact same area that Northside's schools are in. So again, we are doing this with the CANOPY campuses, but we're also doing them at other campuses that have established trees on their campus. So that's a very exciting one that I hope that some of you will check out if you are doing these with your students. We'll go ahead and go to the next slide, please. So similarly, Bexar Branches geotagged every tree planted with ArcGIS for all 5 campuses. And so you can kind of see here, this is, I believe, Driggers Elementary. And you can see every one of those dots represents a tree that was planted in the CANOPY project by our students and volunteers. And so every tree planted there on the right, you can see that it has the latitude and longitude of each tree. It also includes the species of the tree. And so what do we plan to do with this information? So this really allows us to visualize our tree planting efforts. It helps us monitor and maintenance the trees, and analyze the environmental impacts, maybe come up with strategic planning, and also it will definitely help with reporting and advocacy for this project. So really excited to really kind of somehow merge ArcGIS with Globe, and that's kind of one of our future goals with this project. Next slide, please. So by doing this, what was really exciting is that these first 5 campuses earned national recognition through the Arbor Day Foundation Tree Campus K through 12. If you're not familiar with that, Tree Campus K through 12 recognizes schools that lead the way in tree stewardship. So if you're planting trees at your campuses, I highly recommend you register your campus to become a tree campus. This is really, really easy actually. So this involves creating a team, and then you got to come up with some lessons and lesson plans and activities that surround trees. And then obviously you got to plant trees with your students. And it doesn't need to be a whole schoolyard forest, you know. But planting trees is definitely a requirement. And then you have to hold a celebration of Arbor Day as a community. And so we did that as we laid out. And so what we're really, you know, some of the benefits that by joining the Arbor Day Foundation as a tree campus include you get help identifying partners in your community who can bring more tree experiences to your school. You also get the students in the community get a better opportunity to know the trees on the campus and the surrounding community. They help you create a platform for educating your school community on the benefits of trees. And then they also help you provide a framework that will bring your program to life at your campus in its unique way. And so if you just look here, once you become a tree campus, you can go online. And when we zoom in to the great state of Texas, we are proud of this, but unfortunately, we are the only tree campus K through 12 elementary schools in Texas. And then zooming in here on the right-hand side, you can see our 5 campuses that are the CANOPY campuses that have earned this recognition. Next slide, please. And so we're planning to keep our recognition of these tree campuses. One of the things they do give you, along with a certificate, is a tree campus K through 12 flag to hang on your campus. And so these are current fifth grade. These pictures are from current 5th graders celebrating Arbor Day this past school year in November is when we hold our Arbor Day celebration. And they planted many of these trees as 4th graders, but we got an image of them hanging their tree campus flags high and proud. And when I return to these campuses this year, we're going to continue many of the lessons that I've just shared with you and develop those lessons and use them at these campuses for years to come. Next slide. And so to end here, we just wanted to say thank you again. This photo here of Jackie and I was taken when we completed the last 5th CANOPY campus, celebrating the completion of all the schoolyard forests that we were able to install for the first time in our district. It was a very sweet feeling that day, as you can imagine, and as many of you know, there's a lot that goes into this. And so our elementary science curriculum and instruction department at Northside is currently evaluating and making changes to better Project CANOPY for future plantings. And this effort, I mean, as you know, but I really want to make sure that I say this, that this effort is a true collaboration, and we are fortunate to partner with incredible organizations like Bexar Branches Alliance, obviously American Youthworks, and American Forests, and so many others. And so here's to planting more schoolyard forests. And as Jackie always says, may the forest be with you.
Thank you all so much for your just inspiring and enthusiastic presentations. It was so exciting just to like hear about your work again. I know I can tell from the chat that our audience really appreciated your sharing. We do have a few questions in the chat that have come through that we can highlight. So one question is there's from Angela, maybe. We are in the process of initiating a schoolyard forest project and are curious about the budget required per school or campus for this initiative. Can you share some insights there?
So I'll go ahead and start. So it's really, it depends on the school. So the first Project CANOPY for us was new to our program. As I mentioned, we're a new organization. So our budget included the trees, the shirts, the watering for the first 3 years. And for this first round, watering included gator bags and then purchasing a water truck, a trailer with 1,000-gallon tank on it for water, and then hiring somebody for 3 years to water those trees. As we are planning for the next round of campuses, that is not sustainable. As we look at, kind of lowering our carbon footprint, irrigation is the next step, but there are some hurdles and challenges for that. So as you can see, Esparza Elementary, we planted 58 trees on that campus. Driggers Elementary planted 142. So it kind of like the budget was different between the two campuses, and then irrigation versus actually hiring somebody, that also two very different budgets. So offline, if you want to send me more information, I wrote a program. I will share all of the Project Canopy information that we've created, budgets, all of that with anybody that would like it, if you'd like to learn more.
Thank you, Jackie. And if you want to maybe drop your email in the chat, maybe for folks to reach out to you directly, that would be probably helpful for some folks. Another question that came through is, who's responsible for the ongoing care of the newly planted trees? I think, my colleague Aisha and I have had conversations with folks across the country, and some folks will say everyone wants to plant a tree, no one wants to watch it grow. So obviously, like, being able to understand that a little bit more would be helpful.
Jackie, do you want to talk about that again?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so part of our program and part of the budget we actually got from American Forests was to train Northside's staff, their current maintenance staff, on proper tree care. So our part of the agreement was we're going to plant the trees, monitor them, and water them for 3 years. And then if there's any kind of like landscaper damage, then we collaborate with Northside's maintenance department to replace those trees that have died from landscaper illness. So other than that, these trees, we're not going to prune them for the first 3 years. They need to do their thing. But after that, that's when the training for the NISD's maintenance staff comes in for proper tree care moving forward. And I do know NISD, they do contract out some of their work. So we, as an organization, also have educational learnings for tree professionals in our areas that hopefully those guys like to come to as well.
Awesome. And I think I know Becky Schwartz from American Forest is on the call, and I wasn't sure if you wanted to share a little bit insights about the role of American Forest and kind of some of the work you do for this audience, if you wouldn't mind.
Sure. So the role of American Forest is like a connector. So I'll put an article to what Isaac and Jackie and Matt spoke about in terms of just all the collaboration happening in San Antonio right now. We also provide technical assistance. So whenever any of these folks had questions, we were there. And then the last thing I'll mention, excuse me, related to the budget question. So this was funded by Microsoft, and their goals were to support the San Antonio community that they are living and working in, support the goals of Project Canopy, and then also to bring some of their staff out on planting day. So as long as we met those goals, we're good. And they also care about creating thriving environments. And so when Jackie and I worked on budgets, the majority of her budget went to starting the watering process, which she mentioned. So I have a background in urban forestry, so that's key to me. When I work with partners across the US, I say, if you need to plant less trees, that's fine. Show me your maintenance budget first. Tell me what your problem is first. So we have a little more flexibility with corporate money. As long as we meet their goals, then we have a little more flexibility there, rather than saying like, no, you can't do this. No, you can't do that.
Thanks so much, Becky. Appreciate that. Other questions that folks might have that are coming up from this presentation, or anything that our speakers might want to share?
Yeah,
Go
good.
ahead.
Yeah, my thing is, I love what you're doing. Let me just say that off the bat. I'm from Stockton Unified School District. I want to start the forest gardening like that with an edible garden and the whole thing for the whole school and change asphalt. And, there's a lot of support. The only support that I don't have towards this whole program actually is funding. Is my biggest hold towards it. I have a whole school with kids who want to do this stuff, do the agriculture program, right through to recycling, you name it, or what they want to do. The problem that I'm having is justifying funding for that kind of stuff when, schools need money to upgrade and AC needs changing and those kind of things. This is the part that I need the help. So not only doing the while they're doing the inside, I can create this safe space on the outer side. I know that's a loaded question. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, thank you, Jermaine. I appreciate you elevating that. I'm sure plenty of people have, similar constraints and concerns and barriers because we always acknowledge that, school districts are balancing a lot of different priorities, right? And so how do you get them to prioritize tree planting or nature-based solutions? And so I actually was really excited when Becky was talking about Microsoft like stepping up and wanting to fund work in San Antonio. And I do think that, corporations and even climate polluters, if you will, have a role in kind of mitigating some of the harm that's being done. And so I think, trying to find creative ways to think about who could possibly fund this work to move it forward feels really important and like a problem that we all, need to be taking a part in solving, right? And so there's a lot of different solutions that I often have in my head. Like I even think about like the hospital systems often and their community benefits and the opportunity to build relationships, through hospital community benefits, to see like, hey, this is what we're trying to do. Is this something that you might be interested in funding? I often say funding is also like a lot about relationship building. So it's not always like, hey, I need a check. Like, yeah, you need a check, but we don't really know you. So like, continue to work and build those relationships, I think feels really important. But thank you so much again, Jermaine, for elevating that. Lisa, I see your hand is raised.
Yes, so we're just starting out on this and at our schools at Nevada Unified School District. And one of the things we hear a lot is, well, what about falling branches and what about fire hazards? And I'm assuming you've all come across this, and I just wanted to see what kind of feedback you give people.
So, a district our size is definitely concerned about those things. And I think the way around that is getting them involved as much as possible. So, for example, we pitched this idea to them several times before even getting them out to come to the campuses to walk the campus grounds with us. When we were walking the campus grounds with our district's maintenance department, we were planning where each tree was going to go and basically received approval for each location that the tree was going to be planted. And so that was kind of, they had a say in where these trees were going to be located on the campus. And if you again look at the pictures of our campuses, they desperately need trees. And I think really one of the biggest pushes or what kind of made this happen was Jaci had really shared some valuable data that these trees would ultimately save us money in the long run. Help us with a lot because I mean, as you know, and I know California has similar experiences, but we're going through a pretty severe drought here in this part of Texas, and so a lot of our campuses have severe erosion. We have foundation issues from the lack of vegetation, and so again, when Jaci provided kind of like the stats on what all the amount of monies that we'd be saving, I think it kind of got them thinking like, yeah, this is going to be good for our campuses. So I think just kind of showing what kind of return you're going to get from your from doing this project, and then including them as much as you can and just educating them, because I mean some of this is not common knowledge, and I think they just need to realize that like the chances of like a fallen branch or whatever their hesitations might be, just kind of educating them and showing them that that's not really the concerns that we have. Jaci, do you have anything else to add to that?
Yeah, so Project CANOPY, it's not a unique project, right? And so I think what really helped us tell the story, and one of the other things that that brought up were all of the bees and the bugs, and the kids getting stung and all of those worries. So it was really great to show them examples of successful schoolyard forests, food forests that have been planted all across the country, across the continent, to say, hey, this has been in place for X amount of years. It's been very successful. So what can we do to, tailor it to ours? And with Northside, they were concerned about fruit trees, messy trees. So it was like, okay, well, these are the list of natives that aren't going to be messy, but still going to add all the environmental benefits. So it really is a discussion, a collaboration. And Isaac said that the education to kind of quell the fears that they might have about tree species or just the plantings in general.
Thank you so much. There's a couple of other questions in the chat, and I know we're running low on time, but one was, as part of the monitoring program after planting, does it include observing for enhanced or increased biodiversity? For example, year 1 to 2, year 5, year 10, and so forth. Has that been included in any of your efforts?
It is, I mean, we are coming back to these trees year after year with our students. That is our goal, is to track these observations. That's why we're trying to use things like, the Globe Observer app, ArcGIS. We also, I didn't mention, obviously we know there's like iNaturalist and other things out there. So again, our team is kind of developing those lessons and opportunities more and more, and so that is our ultimate goal, is to learn and really kind of put a story to this entire tree planting initiative that we've started. So absolutely, it is. Are we doing it perfectly? Not quite yet, but we're gonna get there.
And I
Wonderful.
do want to just add something about biodiversity. So with the approved species, we try to get as many different tree species planted per campus. So typically, I think the average, we had 12 different species planted at each campus.
Thank you both. I know we're just about at time, so thank you all so much again. Thank you to our speakers, and we'll see you next time.